Understand we're live. So good morning, flutarians. Welcome those of you who might be joining me live, and especially to those of you who are joining me in the replays. Today is the first day of my Atomic Flutist project. If you've read the book Atomic Habits, then you know about building habits in tiny atomic-sized chunks. And my goal with the Atomic Flutist is to rebuild and maintain my high level of flute fitness through tiny little chunks that we can stack together to hopefully cover all of the different possible note combinations and articulation combinations on the flute. I have a degree in music from the University of North Texas, and before that I was attending the High School for Performing and Visual Arts, so I've been through some pretty intense music training. In fact, there were, during those years in my life, many days where I was in the practice room by myself for 4 hours, sometimes 6 hours at a time, and that's in addition to performing in ensembles and practicing solo music and all of the stuff involved in getting a music degree. And unfortunately, I had an experience of burnout during that time. My dad died of cancer when I first started attending UNT, and that was a perfect storm for burnout for me, and I basically quit playing flute until I would hear his favorite songs on the radio and I would want to play along. Classic rock tunes like we'll be doing on Wednesday nights, like Hallelujah and Let It Be and Hotel California and House of the Rising Sun. And so I would start improvising with them. Long story short, eventually after I moved here to Austin and made some friends, people started asking me, where do you teach? Because I finally came out of my shell again and started playing music with other people here in Austin, Texas, which is sometimes called the live music capital. And that's when I created the Flutarians group. So my goal now with the Flutarians is to help you improving improvisers go from feeling like 0, I'm going to die of anxiety when somebody asks me to improvise or play anything off of the page of sheet music, to 5, this is cool, this is fun, as quickly as possible. So in the school group, please join us. And there's plenty of games to help you build your confidence, as well as a supportive community of other improving improvisers who are at all different levels of flute technique experience. So we're not really going to be doing much, if any, improvising during this 30 minutes together, but I wanted to bring you in on the techniques that I used to use on a daily basis when I was studying music, and that I'm now going to start using again on a daily basis, because honestly I've gotten a little bit lazy with my flute practicing in the past decade, and sometimes when I'm improvising I shoot for a technique and I miss it. I would prefer to shoot for a technique and have near 100% accuracy. So here are a few things that I'll be doing to regain my tip-top flute fitness, and I invite you to join me and play along. So I'll try to keep the talking to a minimum. So let's go ahead and get started. Please play along. And I think that the foundation of a good flute sound starts in the lowest notes on the flute. I also think that the lowest note on the flute, the low C or the low B if you have a B-foot flute, is the most challenging flute on the flute overall, note on the flute overall. So sometimes I say that playing a low C without a warm-up is kind of like doing the splits without a warm-up. Only professionals and freaks of natures can do it. So let's start at the low G, and we're just gonna start by warming up our flutes like we would warm up our body before an intense workout with some basic stretching. So let's do no vibrato. See if you can keep the note as flat as possible. I'm gonna pull up, I have a tuner that should, let me make sure that my screen is showing it. Yeah, it sure is. So this should show how loud I'm playing, as well as some of my intonation. And I want to play quietly and play the longest note possible. Um, so let's start on that low G. Let's go down by half steps. Let's do F sharp next. Now, my recommendation when doing this, if you're a beginner and you're still cracking up into the higher octave by accident frequently, is to, as soon as you crack a note, go back to the previous set, or the previous note, I mean, and play the one that you've got, and then see if you can relax into the next one. Next, I want to play with bending the pitch as low as possible and then as high as possible. So I think of this as a game called the Doppler effect. The Doppler effect is that thing that happens when an ambulance or a vehicle with a siren, is getting closer to you, and the pitch goes higher and higher and higher and higher, and then when it passes you, it starts going lower and lower and lower and lower. So normally we want to play in tune, right? But there's going to be so many times when you're out of tune compared to someone else, and we want to be able to fix that as quickly as possible. So by experimenting with how low can we bend the pitch and then how high can we bend the pitch, trains our embouchure to, and our body and our brains to correct quickly when we're in a practical scenario. So look at your tuner and use that as a guide for how low and how high are you going. Let's start on that same G. right there on that green, the green in tune line. Let's do that all the way down. See if you can start the note green as well. One more, here comes the low C. Hopefully you're seeing that doing this helps you accomplish the trial and error process that needs to be done in your own body to experience what do you need to do to change the pitch. I'm noticing that there's a lot of movement in my head and how I tilt my head. When I go higher in pitch, I look higher up or point my nose up. When I want a lower pitch, which I can bend it even lower than I can bend it higher, I kind of point my nose down. Sometimes I open my jaw and put more room between my teeth. And I notice right here in my lips, my embouchure gets looser and my bottom lip gets softer when I go lower. And when I go higher, it gets a little bit more tense here. Now, did you notice anything with your vibrato or lack of vibrato? I noticed that even though I was trying to make it without any vibrato at all, that towards the end there, sometimes I was getting these natural vibrato variations and my muscles kind of trembling from this physical activity. You could say we're in the flute gym right now. And so we want to be intentional with our vibrato, ideally, right? So now let's bring in a metronome and practice some vibrato. Vibrato is kind of like a faster version of what we just did. It's small variations in the pitch, smaller than what we just did, preferably. They can be big and tall, or it can be smaller variations. And it's also has a frequency, so like 1 beat per minute, or one beat per beat, or 2 beats per beat, or 3 or 4 or 5. So I'm going to turn on the metronome at 60 beats per minute, and let's do each of these notes trying to do just, at first we'll do just one little wave in the vibrato per beat. So this should feel pretty slow at first, like this. Then we'll go up to, we'll see if we can do 5. So we'll start again on that low G. Where do you feel the vibrato happening when you do this? I feel it mostly here. I try and keep my cheeks here soft enough, the muscles loose enough, that I can feel the air doing this. But just a little bit. Okay, let's just do one note, the G, with 2 per and then 3 per, and then I'll move on so that I can show you a couple more things before the half hour is over. So let's try and do 2 per, like wom 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 wom. Oh, let's see if that it. Wom 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 wom. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and yeah. Okay, so what would 3 sound like? Triplet, 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 triplet. See if you can get that speed. Let's try it. challenging, right? Okay, so you can work that all the way up to 4 or 5 or 6. Um, but let's do a little bit of two-note combinations. So one of my favorite ways to warm up is to combine a crescendo with a decrescendo. And right now we haven't even explored into the upper octave at all yet. So let's start at that low G and start working our way up 2 chromatic notes at a time. And let's see, can we start the note quietly and build to our maximum volume and then transition to the next note up. Let's incorporate vibrato here. Let's see if now after that warm-up you can create a vibrato that feels natural. Take a look at that decibel meter. Let's see if it registers my volume increasing. The reason we have the tuner out here is because guess what? You probably already knew that the flute, when we play louder, tends to get more sharp. So one of the primary reasons to practice this is to gain an awareness of what's happening to your pitch when you increase or decrease your volume. Let's try from G sharp to A natural. Okay, now we've made it an octave. Good practice as well is to try and do some octave leaps. Let's just demonstrate now how that would be from C to C. Now you can also take these 2-note combinations and instead of just moving up 1 note at a time, you can skip a note each time and so you're practicing the intervals. Let's start on that C and go up. It'll sound kind of like this, and then this, and then this, and then this. I think there's an exercise, a warm-up called the Remington that you may have played that's similar to this in a band. This time through, let's do it slurred. Don't use your tongue on the second note. Maybe next time through, we'll do both notes with a ta at the beginning, articulated. Okay, so ideally, you practice all the way up to the highest possible note that you can play on the flute, and all the way down to the lowest note, the lowest note or newt possible on the flute. So I noticed myself getting a little bit distracted and forgetting which note happens next because I'm new to this live streaming thing. I was thinking about what's happening next and thinking what I need to do with the computer, which brings up an important point to me. The reason we want to spend a few minutes per day practicing these very specific things in a very specific context is so that we can hopefully remove all the noise mentally, the mental chatter, all the information coming in that would normally be coming in when we're playing along with a backing track or playing along with the band. And we can really focus in on tone and intonation. If we never practice it on its own, then it's not going to be so great when we have 100 things distracting us, right? So I want to move on and play a little bit of scales before I give you a goodbye for the day. Let's practice this idea of playing a scale, adding one note at a time. So like this, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. Let's do that until we have the whole scale. I'm going to turn my metronome back on. Okay, so now you've practiced all the notes going up. You can also start on the higher C and practice going down, adding one note at a time. So, obviously you could spend many more hours doing variations of this, and my goal is to take you through those hours gradually over the course of the coming weeks, months, and year. Welcome to 2026, by the way. Happy New Year if I haven't already told you that somewhere else. And this is a good way to warm up for improv games. Improv games are the bread and butter, so to speak, of the flutarian's school. So I went from testing it out one day a week for 2024 and 2025 to now hosting it 4 times a week, Sunday through Wednesday. Some of these will be a little bit shorter, so that around 30 minutes, so that we can start practicing a tune that we're going to play together, like on Wednesday night classic rock, or Sunday afternoons flute church. Join us at 1 and 1:30 and 2 today if you can, Central Time. And my intention with improv games is to create a safe space for improving our improvising, taking some baby steps, and have fun making music with other people, and to demonstrate through games some of the ideas that have made it possible for me to have confidence when I improvise. So if that sounds like good for where you're at right now, just take a look at the Flutarian School and put it in your calendar. So join me today at 1 p.m. Central Time for improv games. Then we're going to do a little highlight on Amazing Grace. I'll demonstrate for you and we'll play along together how I would go about creating a unique improvisation for that song. And then at, let's see, 2 p.m., um, I'll go live here again on YouTube, and we'll have a little performance of a couple of songs that you would hear in church. You'll get to hear a little bit of my flute improvisation with them, and when you're feeling comfortable, you'll have the chance to come up on the mic and share your unique flute voice and improvisation as well.